conferring today, but it's definitely when I was in the classroom, the idea of not exactly sure how to get started. So it was a little bit terrifying. I knew to sit down next to students, but I wasn't quite sure what to say. So I often said things like, tell me about your book, or how's it going? And I feel like those aren't necessarily wrong in what I knew, but it didn't really go very far. Like I got like one-word answers, or I got in like, I didn't want to interrupt students, but they were telling me a lot about their book. So I thought we could talk a little bit today about questions that invite students to really open up and like high value, like give us a lot of information to support them.
So maybe it would be helpful to start with some what we call like dead end questions, right? That kind of like don't really give us any new information about them as a reader. So you kind of named some. So like, how's it going? We love Carl. He's one of our mentors. He can be magical with that. But when we start with like, how's your reading going? I often got an answer like, good, or right? Like it was these one-word answers. So I think that the equivalent of that is sort of like the grunt that you might get from someone when they're busy and they just want you to leave them alone, right? Another dead-end question, like you said, is like, tell me about the character, tell me about the book, tell me about the setting, because those are kind of like oral quizzes, right? They're like this very literal retell, and what they basically did is either showed us the student could retell a factual piece of information from the book or not. And I wasn't really sure what to do with that, because if they could do it, I still don't know what to teach them. And if they couldn't do it, I don't know why they couldn't do it, and I didn't know what to teach them. Maybe a third question would be something like super general, like, tell me about who you are as a reader. Because most students, like even if you asked me, I wouldn't know how to answer that, right? So like those kinds of questions. So there isn't like a definition of a dead-end question, but maybe like trying them out, we can know like we don't get information. That's helpful. So what would be some qualities or examples of questions that do open students up to sharing their thinking?
I think you could take one that we just stated and just add a sentence, a little bit to it. Like, how's it going with, so if you start with how's it going with, and maybe name perhaps like something you notice the reader doing. Like, how's it going with, thinking about the character in this.
Like what the instructional focus is.
Yep. So just adding that little part.
So giving them like a specific lens,
and then they have to talk into that lens. Because how's it going is hard to answer.
It's just too big.
Yeah. I have found success with watching students, so standing back and watching students a bit, and then naming something I noticed them doing and asking them to explain it to me. I noticed you. Can you tell me more about?
I noticed you were laughing a lot in this book. Like, tell me a little bit, like, what are some of the things you're noticing the author's doing that's making you think a lot?
Yes.
Or like making you laugh a lot.
Yep.
I'm also thinking like a lot of our conferences can start with a follow-up from the last time we were with them. So it might be as simple as the last time we met and we had a conversation, we talked about this, like, how has that been going? Or what's something I might be able to help you with this time?
Absolutely. And also like naming a process. What's your process for? Tell me your 1, 2, 3 steps for.
Or show me how you
are. Or point to the place in your reading notebook where you tried.
So it sounds like if I was to sum all of this up, there's this idea we don't want it to be so wide open, but we also don't want it to be so specific. So there's this happy medium between how's it going and can you name the conflict for me, right? Like there's this in between. Another quality it sounds like is we ask about the reader and their thinking. We're not asking just about the book. And then I think a third one you said with the observation is to like be genuinely curious and like use our curiosity about students to ask a question we actually want to know the answer to. So it's not like this phony scripted question, but like I actually am really curious about what you're thinking about this character. You might pay attention to the questions that you're asking your students and notice which ones kind of leave you to a dead end with a one-word answer or grunt, and which ones actually give you a lot of information that seems really authentic about your students, because it's hard to make instructional decisions when we're not getting that authentic response from students that lets us know what they're really thinking about.